1410 WIBA with Wisconsin Capital Management online, wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Great website. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, definitely head over there. You can learn more about Wisconsin Capital Management. Also, if you've got a question, maybe something that came up during the program or just a retirement related or savings and planning financial question, great opportunity. If you head on over to wizcap.com, there's a little chat bubble that pops up. From there, you can ask a question to be answered right online. Again, that's wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. And joining us this morning from Wisconsin Capital Management, Nathan and Tom Plumb. Guys, how we doing this week? Nathan, I'll start with you first. How you doing this morning?
Wonderful. Really enjoying this fall weather and the color. And it's a beautiful time to be in Wisconsin.
It's pretty amazing. And Tom, what's obviously great weather? Get a chance. Did you do any golfing or anything, Tom?
No, I'm not. I do bike, and I like to get out on my boat, but really I'd love to hike in Wisconsin because that's just fun. It's beautiful. We do have our rolling hills. We have our rivers. It's a lot of fun to get out there. But this is a scary week, Sean.
Oh, really?
We have Halloween, of course,
Yes.
and we have our president out there negotiating in Southeast Asia. And we have big tech companies starting to report their earnings.
Wow, and that's obviously a lot to keep an eye on, a lot to be following. And of course, Tom and Nathan both follow this stuff very, very closely and keep on top of it. And as we talked this morning, just about Wisconsin Capital Management, and of course, and what it means to retire and plan for retire. And Nathan, let's talk a little bit about what it means to retire. I think a lot of folks get this impression that when they retire, well, I'm just going to stop working. It typically doesn't work that way, does it?
No, I think actually I've seen this happen. So people retire at 65. They go to a beach somewhere beautiful, drink margaritas, and by 3 months they're so bored they move back and can't wait to start working again. So the modern definition of a retirement's a little different. Often it kind of means kind of consulting in the role that you specialized in. And that's wonderful, and you should keep your mind active, and we highly encourage it. But if you're getting a salary and getting retirement income at the same time, things get complicated pretty fast. So I'm really happy when our clients discuss doing that with us to get them organized and hopefully pay less tax in the future.
And Tom, we're going to talk about some of that stuff and really important things. Really talk about kind of organizing your finances in retirement, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. And Sean, as an old saying is that 70 is now the new 50. So a lot of people who thought they were going to be in the workforce only for a couple more years, by the time they're 70, they're still looking at being in the workforce only a few more years. But it really can be complicated because there are rules about when you have to take out money from your retirement account, when you have to or when you can take out money from Social Security, and how all these different things get coordinated with healthcare, which you may still be under a company healthcare plan, for example. You may be looking at Medicare, and there's all different ramifications depending on how your income is characterized as it comes to you. So we like to really help people when we can to coordinate that, work between those different things. They may have a required minimum distribution from a place where they used to work, but they actually might not have a required minimum distribution from some place where they're currently working. Nate has been doing a lot of work trying to figure out and coordinate for some of our clients.
And it's interesting. I had a chance to kind of go over the show notes for this week's program, and it's pretty eye-opening and pretty substantial when it comes to the planning and what a significant difference it can make having a proper plan in place when it comes to coordinating your RMD, Social Security, and other types of investment withdrawals through retirement. Of course, talking this morning with Tom and Nathan Plumb. They come to us from Wisconsin Capital Management. Don't forget, you can visit them at wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. From there, if you want to click that chat button, you can send a quick note. You can also ask any question. Also, great opportunity with that chat button to schedule schedule a complimentary, no pressure conversation. As you've gotten to know Nate and Tom over the past few months, you definitely know very casual. Obviously, take your retirement and your savings and your financial stuff very seriously. But when it comes to meeting with them, very, very relaxed, very casual. They just really like to help you out. And Nathan, let's start off this week talking about three letters, which are pretty important, which are RMD. What is an RMD, and what do folks need to know there, Nathan?
Yeah, it's a term that's jargon in our industry, and it means required minimum distribution. So, just to back up, so when you're working and you're putting money into your 401k, that money was never taxed, right? When it was put into the 401k. So it's been growing tax deferred. So it's been growing untaxed, growing, hopefully. And then now that you're over 73 years old, the government essentially gets tired of waiting for you and requires you to start taking money out of that old 401k or IRA. And they have a formula for that. So it starts out roughly about 4%. And as you get older, you have to take out a larger portion of that money that was in your own old 401k or IRA. So that's a good thing to have money for retirement. But the downside is that since that money has never been taxed, it's taxed as ordinary income. So it's taxed like if you had an ordinary wage. And so that's where the complications kind of arrive, especially if you're still working. So essentially you're getting kind of quote unquote paid twice. And so that's the issue in a nutshell.
And Tom, let's talk as Nathan really well laid out what RMDs are and some of the things folks need to know about. There's an important exception when it comes to that RMD trap. What exactly is that, and what do people need to be aware of here?
Well, Sean, first, just to compliment what Nate just said, it's not only never been taxed, but you actually got to withdraw, a tax deduction when you put the money in, if it's not in a Roth IRA or a Roth section of a 401k. And so that's very important. And that's one of the reasons why we told people take advantage of the maximum that you can put into the 401k and definitely put in enough money to get a match from your employer if they offer that. But the exceptions then, when you look at taking money out of our retirement plan, 401k, while you're still working there, if you don't own more than 5% of the company itself, then you actually can delay that required minimum distribution while you're earning a salary at that company. But it's the coordination and the putting together the whole picture that we've talked about in the past, because old 401ks or IRAs that are from other employers still are subject to that required minimum distribution rule. And so that's why you need that coordination, and you need to understand what the exceptions are, and then you can actually maximize your planning. And what we really like to do is maximize the compounding while reducing your tax liability that's current.
And Nate, what your dad there just laid out, I think kind of for a lot of folks kind of sets something up with, which is, let's say I'm still working and then I've got to start collecting RMDs. This could bump me up into a higher tax bracket. Definitely something you want to be aware of, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the main drawback. So a lot of people, they don't want to jump a tax bracket, that's for sure. So it's so if you've been at your current employer a long time, that makes sense to delay it. Each 401k plan, unfortunately, there's no universal rules. Each one is different. So some of them, we could look at those rules for you and see if there's other options for you that are a little bit more advanced. But yeah, and if have been working at your current job just for a short time, and you can't roll into the current plan. If you're charitably inclined, those RMDs are a great way to give directly to charity. So, in other words, don't cash the RMD check, right? Have that directly go to a charity. Then you avoid that income tax. So if you're going to give anyway to your church, synagogue, or a charity like the Dane County United Way, that's another way that you could do tax planning as well. And that's a common thing that you see as well, especially for our charitably inclined clients.
And Tom, what about you mentioned earlier about maybe some old 401ks and other things. It's also a good reminder to kind of keep that stuff all together, isn't it?
Well, certainly it's a lot easier to keep track of, and it's a lot more effective and efficient when you're doing your planning to look at the whole picture. And as Nate said, different pockets of money have different rules.
Hmm.
And so you can look at how I should finance my retirement, what cash should come from where, and how to do it the most efficient way to reduce your tax liability and hopefully enjoy your times and
Ta-
your money.
Talking this morning with Tom and Nathan Plumb. They come to us from Wisconsin Capital Management online, wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Not only get to know Tom and Nathan and the whole team at Wisconsin Capital Management, while you're there, there's a cool little chat button right on the website. You can send a quick note. You can also submit a question or two. And of course, you have great opportunity with that to schedule a complimentary, no pressure conversation with the folks at Wisconsin Capital Management. Again, just head on over to the website, wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Let's talk Social Security, Tom. It's one of those things that is obviously a lot of folks do rely on, and timing is important when it comes to Social Security, isn't it?
Well, Social Security, they have what they call a normal retirement age. And for people like me, that age was 65. But to keep the solvency of the Social Security system and to recognize the fact that people are working later, people now have to be 67 basically before they get full retirement benefits from Social Security. So you can take it early. You can take it when you turn 62. You can take it deferred until you're 70. And if you do defer, the payment or the premium that you'll get every year goes up about 8% a year. So there's a real benefit to delaying some of those.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, you also can find that if you're working, you're going to end up having your benefits reduced by a formula the government has. If you're beyond or earlier than your normal retirement age and you're still earning W-2 income, they will reduce your actual Social Security payment. And if you're over 65 and you're receiving your Social Security payment and you have other income, they actually will adjust the Medicare premium
Hmm.
that you pay based on that income. So this planning is really, really important.
And it sounds, and Nathan, it sounds to me like timing is important here as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, as my dad said, that the first option you have with Social Security is age 62, and then there's another threshold at probably 65, and then at 73 is also some key timing years. But it's really good to talk to someone like us long before that happens, because we can plan for things, but it's hard to do things when things are already happened or just about to happen. It makes your world a lot tougher. So, that it's a common theme in the show is that, time is the most valuable asset. And, you need to talk about something like this. I know it's kind of stressful when people put it on the back burner, but, you kind of have to adult up and, and get it done. So.
Yeah, the importance of having that plan, and I think that's as we've been talking the past few months and getting to know Tom and Nathan from Wisconsin Capital Management. One of the things you're also gonna notice is the importance of having a plan in place and starting that conversation. They make it real easy to do at Wisconsin Capital Management. If you head on over to the website wiscap.com, that's WISCAP.com. You can ask a question right there on the website. You can also schedule a complimentary no pressure conversation, get some of those questions answered. Just head on over to wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Head on over to the website. You can also listen back to this and previous shows podcast there as well. You probably heard phrases like guaranteed income and other things. Well, we're going to get the details on what that means and what you need to understand when it comes to things like annuities and other things. We'll get the details from Tom and Nate. We will do that next as Ask the Experts with Wisconsin Capital Management continues right here on 1310 WIBA. 1310 WIBA and Ask the Experts with Wisconsin Capital Management. Talking this morning with Nathan and Tom Plumb of Wisconsin Capital Management. Learn more online, the website wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. If you got a question, just a random one pops up during the show, great place to submit it. You get that answered right online at wiscap.com. You can also Schedule a complimentary no-pressure conversation right at wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Just before the break, mentioned things like annuities. And I hear annuities. I see commercials with big-time celebrities talking about annuities. Nathan, what do I need to know about annuities?
Yeah, I guess our bias is that we have a kind of a personal crusade against annuities. There are very rare times where annuity is suitable for someone. So really the only two times I've seen that actually applies is that when, if you have some kind of gambling addiction or drug addiction and can't control your spending for somehow need to kind of, put that layer of safety so you don't spend, be a spendthrift on that. Or if you're like, probably single in your 60s, kind of, not very wealthy, and you really need that steady income each month, and or else you might not be able to pay the bills. Like that's a decent scenario for annuity. Almost all other cases, a annuity is a terrible idea. It's a tax bomb
Mm.
just for you and your the people that beneficiary or your beneficiaries when you pass away. So again, we can get into the details of that, but yeah, usually if anyone tries to sell you annuity, just run away. I think psychologically, if you get a golf course and get a hot stock tip, that's high risk.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other end of the spectrum, if someone is preaching no risk, always put in the back of your mind that someone's offering you no or low risk. It is almost inherently expensive. So to take that risk other because you're essentially paying someone else to take that risk off the table. So that comes to CDs, money markets, and especially annuities.
And Tom, we hear that phrase, no market risk or guaranteed income. The other one that you hear a lot of is tax deferred. And I think for a lot of us, go tax deferred. Good stuff. There are some cautions that folks need to proceed with, aren't there?
Oh, those are great terms. They make you feel nice and warm inside, don't they?
Yeah.
But the fact is that there is different types of risk and there's an expense that Nate said.
Hmm.
And especially for people who sell annuities, a tax deferred product in a tax deferred retirement plan, an IRA. That's where you're getting a double tax exemption, but it's really only one. And you've added a layer of fees and loss of control that's very, very difficult and hard to justify. It's the only justification is that it's a great fee producer for the person selling it to you. So you have to be very, very careful there. Those terms, when you talk about protection, remember the insurance company is in the business of protecting itself.
Hmm.
So they make sure that they have, through their tables, enough protection for that odd person that actually gets more money than they are put in, that they have so many other people that are getting a lot less than the insurance company's earning on that money.
And Nathan, when we think about annuities, talking about taxes, how would they differ then from something like a mutual fund or for stocks when it comes to your tax rate?
Yeah, so usually capital gains are taxed at a much lower tax rate than pretty much anything else. So the thing is, when you have an annuity, essentially you're kind of converting your capital gains into ordinary income. And as we all know, ordinary income is taxed a lot higher than any capital gains. And so not only do you lose control, you really have a kind of, you're just making yourself taxed more. And then, unfortunately, when you pass away, so if you just have mutual funds or stocks, right, you get what's called a stepped up in basis. And so essentially the date that you pass away, that's the new yeah, cost basis for your beneficiary. And that's a wonderful thing. With annuities, you don't get that step on basis. So you still get the same cost basis of what your parent or grandparent, whoever bought this annuity, and you can't get an adjustment in basis. So you don't get no step up in basis. So you're going to get taxed a lot more. And then when you get taxed, it's taxed as ordinary income, which is again doubly horrible.
Ouch. And Tom, I've got to guess you've had folks over the years come in and say, I've got this. I purchased this thinking it was going to be this very safe, this very conservative product. Help me out. Help me out. And a lot of these are very, very expensive to get out of. And there's contracts that kind of keep you tied to them, aren't there?
Oh, definitely. And that's why we ask people again, look at your expenses, especially when they say there's no expense on something, you're going to compound on this. Then ask the other question, what if I want to get out of this early? What if I
Mm.
want, instead of getting out of it after 10 or 20 or 30 years, or when I'm turned 65 or 70 or any term that's there, what if I wanted my money next year? What would happen? Most often you're going to find that there is a significant surrender charge,
Mm.
sometimes 7% of your total, for example. And you're going to say, oh, I'm earning at this rate. I missed the stock market because I got this guaranteed rate of 4 or 5%. And if I want to get out of it, I might end up having to pay 2 years of my income just to get out of it. So you have to be very, very careful. Use an example like what Nate was saying is if you bought a stock, let's say you bought Microsoft, and in 10 years it doubled in price. That would mean about a 7% rate of return. It's probably had a return that's over 50% more than that. But using a 7% rate of return in 10 years, I paid about $10,000 worth of the stock. It's now worth $20,000 and I pass away. That stepped up cost basis means that if my heirs sell that stock, they get to sell it at $20,000 and a $20,000 cost basis. So they don't pay any income tax or capital gains tax on the sale. But as Nate was saying, in this annuity, it's never stepped up. So then you have to pay ordinary income tax rates on the withdrawal. You don't get the benefit of capital gains rate, and you don't get the benefit of a stepped up cost basis for your heirs.
Talking this morning with Tom and Nate Plumb. Of course, they come to us from Wisconsin Capital Management, online, wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Nate, is there an alternative? Is there anything that folks can do to maybe create something like a steady stream of income, do that on their own, kind of independently of any other type of product or anything like that? Is there a way to create your own annuity?
Yeah, so again with your these 401ks and IRAs,
Mhm.
if you take your money out before age 59 and a half, the uh, IRS penalizes you 10%,
Mm.
right? Just for early withdrawal, right? So some people that want to retire before 65 or retire a little bit early, you can actually create your own essentially annuity. And the jargon in our business is called a 72T. Of course, that comes from the area of the tax code where that comes from. So essentially, you can bifurcate or take a portion off of your IRA, put it in the 72T, and have essentially a guaranteed income that will come to you just in that 72T portion. And then again, you get all the tax benefits that are good. So then you know, you can get that stepped up basis. You don't have to keep any, you know, so you have all the
Mhm.
advantages of an annuity, especially these tax deferred annuities, because essentially you're paying for the same tax benefit twice. And so if you want the low cost way to do it, I don't see many other advisors doing this, but we've done it in the past. And, if that's your niche situation, we're happy to help you out there.
I've never heard of 72T, and now I know exactly when I see you guys next, we're going to talk all about because it sounds very fascinating. And before we wrap up this week, just real quick, Tom, let's talk about the importance of coordination, and of course, as folks are working into their 60s and 70s, kind of putting this all together. Tom.
Well, again, Sean, we feel that we can really help people with their planning process. We've felt that our expertise, again, is applying the rules to your investments. That means that, one, we have to have expertise in the types of investments that can provide you long-term returns. You can make your own annuity. We have a thing that we've looked at historically called sustainable withdrawals. And we can look at your investments and all of your options available, and we can come up with a cash flow and a strategy and a portfolio mix that will allow you to create your own annuity with a fair amount of confidence and with a minimal withdrawal that historically has meant that you'll never run out of money. So we can really duplicate what an annuity does for individuals by putting together a proper plan, and planning and meeting is the key.
If you've got questions, if you want to get that meeting set up, today's a great day to do just that. Head on over to wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Click on the schedule consultation button. You can schedule a message. You can also schedule that consultation right online. Wiscap.com. That's WISCAP. If you'd like to learn more, Nate and Tom would love to talk with you, love to get to know you. Again, just head on over to wiscap.com. Tom, Nate, it's always great chatting with both of you guys. Enjoy this beautiful day.
All right, you too, Sean. Pleasure.
Sean, great talking to you as always. And again, I hope that some of our customers and some of the people listening will take us up on this.
Take up that offer. Head on over now to wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. News comes your way next right here on 1310 WIBA.